Welcome to the show that turns ordinary people into extraordinary performers. Today's episode is a deep dive into one of the most exciting and transformative approaches to fitness that has taken the athletic world by storm. We're talking about becoming a hybrid athlete, someone who refuses to choose between being strong or being fast, between building muscle or building an engine, between the weight room and the open road. And this is episode 102. And if you have been following along, you know that every episode of the Peak Performance Podcast is designed to feel less like a lecture and more like a conversation between two people who are genuinely obsessed with getting better. Today, we are going all in on the hybrid athlete model: what it is, why it works, how to train for it, what to eat to support it, and how to do all of it without breaking your body in the process. Grab your water bottle, find a comfortable seat, or hit play on your morning run, because this one is going to be thorough, practical, and packed with everything you need to start your journey toward becoming one of the most well rounded athletes of your life. What exactly is a hybrid athlete? Let us start at the very beginning, because if you are new to this term, it deserves a proper introduction. A hybrid athlete is someone who trains simultaneously for strength, power, cardiovascular endurance, and mobility, and does not sacrifice one quality for the sake of another. The hybrid athlete is not the person who can squat 600 pounds but gets winded walking up a flight of stairs. They are also not the ultra marathoner who can run 100 miles but cannot carry their own groceries without injury. The hybrid athlete lives in the middle, and that middle is a remarkable place to be. Think about the demands of real life, real sport, and real adventure. Whether you're chasing your kids around a park, competing in a weekend obstacle race, hiking a mountain, playing recreational sports with friends, or simply wanting to feel powerful and capable in your body well into your 60s and beyond, the hybrid approach prepares you for all of it. You become what fitness professionals sometimes call a generalist of the highest order, exceptionally good at everything rather than world class at one narrow thing. The hybrid athlete model gained massive popularity in recent years as more and more elite performers began to realize that specialization, while necessary at the absolute top of professional sport, leaves the rest of us with serious gaps in our physical capabilities. Powerlifters develop incredible strength but often struggle with basic cardiovascular health. Distance runners build extraordinary aerobic engines but are chronically weak through their hips, glutes, and upper bodies. The hybrid athlete says no to both extremes and yes to the full picture of human physical potential. When you train as a hybrid athlete, you are developing all five pillars of athletic performance at the same time. Those pillars are strength, which is your ability to produce force; power, which is your ability to produce that force quickly; cardiovascular endurance, which is your heart and lungs ability to sustain effort over time; and now muscular endurance, which is your muscles' ability to keep working without fatiguing; and flexibility and mobility, which is your joints' ability to move through their full range of motion without restriction or pain. Together, these five pillars create a body that is not just fit, but genuinely athletic in the truest sense of the word. The benefits of being a hybrid athlete. Before we get into the programs and the details, let us spend some real time talking about why this matters. Because when you understand the depth of the benefits, you will approach your training with a completely different level of motivation and commitment. The benefits of the hybrid athlete model go far beyond looking good in the mirror, although that certainly happens too. Dramatically reduced injury risk. This is perhaps the most immediate and practical benefit of hybrid training. When you develop strength alongside flexibility and cardiovascular conditioning, you create a body that is resilient from every angle. Strong muscles protect joints, flexible tissues absorb impact. A well conditioned cardiovascular system means your form holds up late in a workout when fatigue is highest and injury risk peaks. Extraordinary longevity in sport and life. Athletes who focus exclusively on one modality tend to burn out or break down. The hybrid approach distributes the stress across different systems, giving each one time to recover while others are being developed. This cyclical approach to stress and recovery is one of the most powerful longevity tools available to any athlete at any age. Mental toughness. and adaptability. Hybrid training demands that you show up and push yourself in uncomfortable ways. One day, you are grinding through a heavy deadlift session. The next day, you are 20 minutes into a tempo run when your lungs are burning and your legs want to quit. Learning to be uncomfortable across multiple disciplines builds a mental toughness that carries over into every area of your life. Metabolic superiority. Hybrid athletes enjoy a metabolic advantage that is genuinely remarkable. Strength training builds muscle tissue that increases your resting metabolic rate. Cardiovascular training improves your body's ability to burn fat as fuel. Together, they create a metabolic environment that makes it significantly easier to maintain a healthy body composition year round without extreme dieting. Beyond all of these measurable benefits, there is something that every hybrid athlete eventually discovers that cannot be fully quantified. It is a feeling of genuine athletic confidence. When your body can do almost anything you ask of it, you move through the world differently. You stand differently. You approach challenges differently. That feeling is worth every early morning and every difficult training session. Understanding your body type before you train. Here's where we get very practical, and I want you to pay close attention because this section is going to help you avoid one of the most common mistakes athletes make, following a program that was designed for a completely different body type. Not every training protocol works equally well for every person. Your genetics, your natural build, and your body's default tendencies all play a significant role in how you should structure your training and your nutrition. There are three foundational body types that sports science has recognized for decades. These are called somatotypes, and while most people are a blend of two or all three, understanding your dominant type is an incredibly useful starting point. Let me walk you through each one in detail. The ectomorph. The ectomorph is naturally lean and long. These individuals tend to have smaller frames, narrower shoulders, and a relatively fast metabolism that makes gaining weight or muscle a genuine challenge. Ectomorphs are often naturally gifted at endurance activities because their lighter frames reduce the energy cost of movement. However, they tend to struggle with building strength and muscle mass and may feel underpowered in heavy lifting situations. If you are an ectomorph, you know who you are. You are the person who can run all day but has to fight hard for every pound of muscle you put on your frame. The mesomorph. The mesomorph is the body type that seems almost unfairly gifted for athletic performance. Mesomorphs tend to be naturally muscular, with broader shoulders, a more athletic frame, and a metabolism that responds quickly and efficiently to training. They tend to gain muscle relatively easily, maintain a lean body composition without extreme effort, and perform well across multiple athletic disciplines. If you are a mesomorph, your challenge is not potential. It is consistency and smart programming that keeps you from overtraining. The endomorph. The endomorph tends to be naturally broader and softer in build with a slower metabolism that makes it easier to store fat and harder to lose it. Endomorphs often have exceptional natural strength and power, and they can build impressive muscle. However, they need to pay careful attention to nutrition and cardiovascular training to maintain the body composition and aerobic capacity that hybrid performance demands. If you are an endomorph, your natural strength is a tremendous asset. The goal is channeling it while building the engine to support it. Hybrid training program for the ectomorph. If you are an ectomorph, your program needs to honor your natural strengths while aggressively addressing your weaknesses. Your cardiovascular capacity is likely already solid, which is wonderful. But your priority as a hybrid athlete must be building a foundation of real strength and muscle mass that allows you to perform powerfully across all five athletic pillars. Without that foundation, your joints are vulnerable, your power output is limited, and your overall athletic potential stays capped. Your weekly training schedule as an ectomorph hybrid athlete should look something like this. You will train 5 days per week with 2 dedicated recovery days. Of those 5 training days, 3 of them will be focused primarily on strength and hypertrophy work, meaning you are lifting heavy and building muscle tissue. One day will be a dedicated cardiovascular session, and one day will be a combination session that blends moderate strength work with mobility and flexibility training. Day one, lower body strength focus. Begin with a thorough dynamic warm up of 10 minutes. Then move into back squats, Romanian deadlifts, walking lunges, leg press, and calf raises. Work in the 4 to 6 repetition range for your primary lifts and 8 to 12 reps for your accessory work. Rest 2 to 3 minutes between heavy sets. Finish with 10 minutes of hip flexor and hamstring stretching. Day two, upper body strength focus. Begin with a shoulder and thoracic warm up. Then move into bench press, bent over barbell rows, overhead press, weighted pull ups, and tricep dips. Same rep scheme as day one. Focus on controlled eccentric movements to maximize muscle fiber recruitment and minimize injury risk. Day three, cardiovascular session. Your cardio day as an ectomorph should be moderate, not punishing. Choose between a 30 to 40-minute steady state run at a conversational pace, a 30-minute cycling session, or a 25-minute rowing machine session. The goal is to maintain and build your aerobic base without burning through the calories and muscle tissue you have been working hard to accumulate. Day four, full body power. Power training is the bridge between strength and athletic performance. This session should include power cleans or kettlebell swings, box jumps, medicine ball throws, and sled pushes if available. Work in 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 5 explosive repetitions. Prioritize quality of movement over quantity. Day five, mobility and active recovery. A full 60-minute session dedicated to yoga, dynamic stretching, foam rolling, and light resistance band work. This is not optional for ectomorphs. It is essential. Your lighter frame means your connective tissue needs deliberate attention to stay resilient under load. Nutrition for the ectomorph hybrid athlete. Your nutrition strategy as an ectomorph is built around one foundational principle. You need to eat more than you think you do. Ectomorphs chronically undereat relative to their training demands, and this is one of the primary reasons they struggle to build the strength and muscle mass that hybrid performance requires. If you are training hard 5 days per week but eating like someone who works a desk job, you're going to spin your wheels for months and wonder why you're not progressing. Your caloric intake should be set at a moderate surplus above your total daily energy expenditure. A good starting point is 250 to 500 calories above maintenance, which gives your body the raw materials it needs to build muscle without adding excessive body fat. Because ectomorphs tend to be metabolically fast, do not be afraid of carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are your primary performance fuel and you need plenty of them. Protein target. Aim for between 0.8 and 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. For a 160-pound ectomorph, that means between 128 and 160 grams of protein daily. Sources should include chicken, turkey eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, fish, and legumes. Spread this protein across 4 to 5 meals throughout the day. Carbohydrate strategy. Carbohydrates should make up the largest portion of your diet as an ectomorph. Prioritize complex sources like oats, brown rice, sweet potatoes, quinoa, whole grain bread, and fruit. Time your largest carbohydrate meals around your training sessions. Eat a solid carbohydrate-rich meal 2 hours before training and another within 45 minutes of completing your session. Healthy fats and timing. Do not neglect healthy fats as they are critical for hormone production, joint health, and overall recovery. Sources like avocado, olive oil, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish like salmon should be regular features in your diet. Aim for approximately 25 to 30% of your total calories from fat sources. Hydration and consistency. Drink at minimum half your body weight in ounces of water per day and add an additional 16 to 24 ounces for every hour of training. Consistency is more important than perfection. Meal prepping 2 to 3 days worth of food at a time is one of the most powerful habits an ectomorph can develop. Hybrid training program for the mesomorph. If you are a mesomorph, you're working with perhaps the most naturally suited body type for the hybrid athlete model. Your genetics have given you a head start, but I want to be very direct with you here. Genetics without smart programming is a wasted gift. Mesomorphs are particularly prone to overtraining because their bodies respond so well to stimulus that they begin to believe more is always better. It is not. The most important discipline a mesomorph can develop is the discipline of recovery. Your training program should be aggressive enough to challenge your naturally athletic body while intelligent enough to avoid the overtraining traps that sideline so many gifted athletes. You will train 6 days per week with one complete rest day. Your sessions will be more varied and intense than the ectomorph program because your body can handle it and needs more variety to continue adapting. Day 1, heavy lower body strength. Back squats, front squats, Romanian deadlifts, Bulgarian split squats, and single leg work. Work in the 3 to 5 repetition range for primary lifts. Focus on building maximum strength in the lower body, which serves as the foundation for both running power and athletic explosiveness. Day 2, tempo run or threshold cardio. A 20 to 30-minute run at 80 to 85% of your maximum heart rate. This is a challenging but sustainable effort. You should be able to speak a single sentence but not hold a full conversation. This session builds your aerobic threshold and develops the cardiovascular efficiency that separates hybrid athletes from purely strength focused ones. Day 3, heavy upper body strength. Bench press, weighted pull ups, overhead press, barbell rows, dips, and face pulls. Same rep scheme as day 1 for primary lifts. The mesomorph program keeps strength training at the core because your naturally muscular frame can develop impressive levels of strength that directly translate to athletic power output. Day 4, power and agility circuit. This is where the hybrid magic happens. Combine power cleans, sprint intervals, box jumps, lateral bounds, and medicine ball work into a circuit format. Work at near maximum intensity for short bursts with adequate rest. This session develops the explosive power and change of direction ability that define elite athleticism. Day 5, long slow distance cardio. A 45 to 60-minute run, cycle, or row at a comfortable conversational pace. This builds your aerobic base, promotes active recovery, and trains your body to be efficient at burning fat as a fuel source. This is one of the most undervalued sessions in any hybrid program. Day 6, mobility and flexibility. A dedicated 60-minute session of yoga, dynamic and static stretching, myofascial release, and corrective exercise. Mesomorphs tend to develop tightness rapidly as their muscles grow, making this session non-negotiable for long-term performance and injury prevention. Nutrition for the mesomorph hybrid athlete. Mesomorphs occupy a uniquely fortunate nutritional position. Your body composition tends to remain relatively stable and responds predictably to both surplus and deficit eating. This means your nutritional strategy can be more flexible than either of the other body types, but it also means you need to stay conscious and intentional rather than relying on your genetics to manage your diet for you. Many mesomorphs discover in their mid-30s that the metabolism they enjoyed in their 20s has begun to slow, and the habits they never developed catch up with them quickly. Your macronutrient breakdown should be fairly balanced across all 3 categories: protein, carbohydrates, and fats. This balanced approach mirrors the balanced nature of a hybrid training itself and ensures that your body has what it needs for every type of training session you put it through. Protein. Target 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. At this level, you are supporting both muscle maintenance and muscle growth while providing the amino acids needed for tissue repair between your demanding training sessions. Lean meats, eggs, dairy, fish, and plant-based proteins like tofu and legumes are all excellent choices. Carbohydrates. Aim for carbohydrates to make up approximately 40 to 45% of your total daily calories. Cycle your carbohydrate intake based on training intensity. On hard training days, eat more carbohydrates. On rest days or light activity days, reduce them slightly. This practice, called carbohydrate cycling, is particularly effective for mesomorphs and helps maintain lean body composition while supporting performance. Fats. Healthy fats should comprise approximately 25 to 30% of your total caloric intake. Prioritize omega 3 rich sources like salmon, sardines, walnuts, and flaxseed, as these have significant anti inflammatory properties that support recovery and reduce the risk of overuse injuries. A real concern given the training volume of a mesomorph hybrid program. Meal timing is meaningful for mesomorphs. Eat a substantial pre training meal containing protein and complex carbohydrates approximately 90 minutes to 2 hours before your session. Within 45 minutes of finishing your workout, consume a recovery meal or shake that combines fast digesting protein with simple carbohydrates. This post workout window is when your muscles are most receptive to nutrients, and taking advantage of it consistently will accelerate your results significantly. Hybrid training program for the endomorph. If you're an endomorph, I want you to hear something clearly before we dive into the program details. Your body type is not a disadvantage in the hybrid model, it is a different kind of advantage. Endomorphs often have exceptional natural strength and power output, a strong skeletal frame, and significant muscular potential. The hybrid model is actually ideal for endomorphs because the combination of strength training and cardiovascular work creates exactly the hormonal and metabolic environment your body needs to perform and look its absolute best. Your program design as an endomorph needs to prioritize two things simultaneously: maintaining and building your natural strength while consistently elevating your cardiovascular capacity. Where the ectomorph needs to be careful not to do too much cardio, you need to do slightly more. Where the ectomorph needs to eat more, you need to eat with greater precision. The endomorph hybrid program is built around metabolic efficiency and athletic performance working hand in hand. Day one, full body strength with cardio finish. Begin with compound strength movements: deadlifts, bench press, barbell rows, and squats in the 5 to 8 repetition range. Move through your strength work at a slightly faster pace than a pure power lifter would, keeping rest periods between 60 and 90 seconds. Finish the session with a 20-minute moderate intensity cardio blast on the rowing machine, assault bike, or treadmill. Day 2, dedicated cardiovascular session. 40 to 50 minutes of moderate intensity cardio at 65 to 75% of your maximum heart rate. This could be a run, a cycle, a swim, or a combination. The goal is sustained aerobic effort that teaches your body to burn fat efficiently. This session is one of the most important in the endomorph program and should not be skipped or shortened. Day 3, upper body strength and power. Focus on the upper body with pull ups, overhead press, dumbbell bench press, cable rows, and tricep and bicep work. Add in 3 sets of medicine ball slams and battle rope intervals to keep the metabolic demand high and develop power alongside strength. Day 4, interval training. High intensity interval training is a particularly effective tool for endomorphs. Structure your session as 20 seconds of maximum effort followed by 40 seconds of active recovery. Repeat it for 25 to 30 minutes. You can use any modality: sprinting, cycling, rowing, or body weight circuits. This session drives significant hormonal adaptations that accelerate fat loss while preserving muscle tissue. Day 5, lower body strength and mobility. Heavy squat variations, hip hinges, and unilateral leg work combined with a thorough 30-minute mobility routine at the end. Endomorphs carry more mass through their lower body and core, making hip mobility, thoracic rotation, and ankle flexibility particularly important areas to address consistently. Nutrition for the endomorph hybrid athlete. Nutrition is where endomorphs often either win or lose their hybrid athletic journey. The good news is that the hybrid training program you are following creates a metabolic environment that is significantly more forgiving than a sedentary lifestyle. The combination of strength training, cardiovascular work, and interval sessions means your body is burning fuel from multiple energy systems and is primed to use the food you give it efficiently. That said, endomorphs do need to be more intentional about their nutrition than the other two body types. Your body is naturally efficient at storing energy, which is actually a survival advantage from an evolutionary perspective, but requires deliberate management in the context of modern nutrition. The key is not starvation or extreme restriction, it is precision and consistency. Prioritize protein above all. Protein should be the cornerstone of every single meal you eat. Aim for 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight per day. This high protein intake supports muscle preservation and growth while keeping you satiated, which helps naturally regulate caloric intake. Prioritize lean protein sources: chicken breast, turkey whitefish, egg whites, low fat Greek yogurt, and plant based proteins. Be strategic with carbohydrates. Endomorphs do best when they time their carbohydrates strategically rather than distributing them evenly throughout the day. Eat your largest carbohydrate serving in the meal before and the meal immediately after your training session. Outside of those windows, focus your meals more heavily on protein and vegetables. Choose complex, fiber rich carbohydrate sources. Oats, sweet potatoes, lentils, beans, and vegetables should be your staples. Reduce but do not eliminate fats. Healthy fats are essential for hormone function, joint health, and brain performance, all of which matter deeply to an athlete. However, because fats are the most calorie dense macronutrient, endomorphs should be mindful of portion sizes. Aim for approximately 20 to 25% of total calories from fat, prioritizing omega 3 sources and limiting saturated fats from processed foods. Vegetables are your secret weapon. Fill half of every plate with non starchy vegetables. They are loaded with fiber, micronutrients, antioxidants, and water content that collectively support performance, recovery, gut health, and appetite management. Spinach, broccoli, bell peppers, zucchini, asparagus, cauliflower, and kale should become staples in your kitchen. The injury prevention blueprint every hybrid athlete needs. We've spent a lot of time talking about training and nutrition, and now I want to give dedicated attention to what might be the single most important topic in this entire episode: injury prevention. Because here's the truth that no one talks about enough: the greatest training program in the world is completely useless if you are constantly sidelined with pulled muscles, stressed joints, tendon inflammation, or stress fractures. Staying healthy is not a passive side effect of good training, and it is an active, deliberate practice that must be baked into every week of your athletic life. Hybrid athletes are at a unique intersection of risk and reward when it comes to injury. On one hand, the balanced nature of hybrid training means that no single system is overstressed the way it would be in a purely specialized program. On the other hand, the sheer volume and variety of training stimulus, heavy lifting one day, long runs the next, means that recovery, mobility, and load management must be taken extremely seriously. The dynamic warm up is non negotiable. Every single training session, regardless of how short on time you feel, must begin with a dynamic warm up of at least 8 to 10 minutes. This means movement based preparation: leg swings, hip circles, arm rotations, light jogging, body weight squats, lunges with rotation, and activation exercises for the specific muscles you are about to train. A cold muscle is a vulnerable muscle, period. Sleep is your most powerful recovery tool. You do not get stronger in the gym, you get stronger while you sleep. Tissue repair, hormone production, nervous system restoration, and mental consolidation of motor patterns all happen during sleep. Hybrid athletes should target between 7 and 9 hours of quality sleep per night. If you are consistently sleeping less than 7 hours, your injury risk rises significantly and your performance plateaus. Manage acute inflammation proactively. Not all inflammation is bad. Acute inflammation after a hard training session is part of the adaptation process. However, chronic unmanaged inflammation is the breeding ground for overuse injuries. Cold water immersion after particularly demanding sessions, contrast showers, and anti inflammatory nutrition all help manage systemic inflammation and keep your body in a state of readiness. Follow the 10% rule for volume increases. One of the most reliable predictors of overuse injury is doing too much too soon. The 10% rule states that you should not increase your total weekly training volume, whether that is running mileage, total sets in the gym, or overall training hours, by more than 10% from one week to the next. This applies to beginners and advanced athletes alike. Patience and progression is not weakness, it is intelligence. Mobility and flexibility, the forgotten pillar. I want to spend a focused moment on mobility and flexibility because, in my experience, this is the pillar that is most consistently neglected by athletes who come from a strength training or endurance background. Lifters think stretching is for yoga people. Runners think their sport keeps them flexible enough. Both groups are wrong, and both groups pay for it eventually with injuries that could have been avoided. Mobility refers to the ability of a joint to move actively through its full range of motion. It is the combination of flexibility and strength through that range. Flexibility, on the other hand, refers to the passive length of a muscle. Both matter, and the hybrid athlete needs to develop both intentionally. A muscle that is flexible but not strong through its full range of motion is actually more vulnerable to injury, not less. This is why isolated stretching is not enough. You need to combine stretching with strength work through range of motion. Hip mobility. The hips are the center of athletic power generation and the most common site of both strength training and running injuries. Daily hip mobility work, including 90-90 stretches, deep squat holds, hip flexor lunges, and pigeon pose variations, should be a non negotiable part of your routine. 5 minutes each morning devoted to hip mobility will pay dividends across every aspect of your training. Thoracic spine. The thoracic spine, the middle section of your back, is responsible for the rotation and extension that allows you to lift overhead safely, run with proper form, and maintain posture under load. Most adults develop significant stiffness here from desk work and poor posture. Foam rolling, thread the needle rotations, and extension over a foam roller should be regular fixtures in your mobility work. Ankle mobility. Limited ankle mobility is directly linked to knee pain, hip dysfunction, and even lower back problems, because when the ankle cannot move freely, the stress gets transferred up the chain. Daily ankle circles, wall ankle mobilizations, and calf stretching will improve your squat depth, your running economy, and your overall movement quality across the board. Shoulder and upper back. Overhead mobility is critical for safe pressing and pulling movements and for good posture during running. Shoulder dislocates with a band or dowel, wall slides, and door frame chest stretches are simple tools that dramatically improve shoulder health. Add them to your warm up and cool down routine consistently, and your upper body training quality will improve noticeably within 2 to 3 weeks. Programming your week, a universal hybrid template. Regardless of your body type, there are universal principles of weekly program design that every hybrid athlete should follow. These principles ensure that you are developing all 5 athletic pillars consistently, managing fatigue intelligently, and building a training life that is sustainable for years rather than months. Let me walk you through how to think about structuring your week at a high level. The most important concept in hybrid program design is the principle of concurrent training. Concurrent training means developing multiple fitness qualities, strength and endurance, for example, within the same training week. Research in sports science has shown that concurrent training is highly effective when structured correctly, but can actually interfere with adaptations when structured poorly. The key is managing the sequencing and recovery between different types of sessions. Avoid running long the day after heavy lifting. Heavy lower body strength sessions create significant neuromuscular fatigue that takes 24 to 48 hours to resolve. If you follow a heavy squat session with a long run the next morning, you are running on compromised neuromuscular function, which increases your injury risk and reduces the quality of both training sessions. Separate your most demanding strength and endurance sessions by at least 48 hours whenever possible. Place high intensity cardio early in the week. Your hardest cardiovascular sessions, intervals, tempo runs, threshold work should be placed early in the training week when your body is freshest. These sessions create the most systemic fatigue of any cardio type and need the most recovery time. Placing them on Monday or Tuesday ensures you have adequate recovery before your next heavy lifting session. Use active recovery days strategically. Active recovery days, light walking, easy swimming, gentle yoga, or casual bike ride are more effective than complete rest for most athletes. They promote blood flow to fatigued muscles, help clear metabolic waste products, and maintain movement patterns without adding significant training stress. Use at least one of your recovery days as an active recovery day rather than complete rest. Build in a deload week every 4 to 6 weeks. A deload week is a planned period of reduced training volume, typically 50 to 60% of your normal workload, that allows your body to fully recover and adapt before the next training block. Deload weeks prevent overtraining, reduce injury risk, and actually accelerate long term progress. Many athletes skip them because they feel fine, but the benefits show up in the weeks following the deload when performance typically jumps significantly. The mental game of the hybrid athlete. Physical training without mental training is a car without a driver. Everything we have discussed today, the programs, the nutrition, the mobility work, the recovery protocols, all of it depends on the mental game to actually execute consistently over time. This is not a soft topic or an optional add on. The mental dimension of athletic performance is as trainable as any muscle in your body, and the hybrid athlete model demands mental flexibility and resilience in unique ways. Being a hybrid athlete means accepting that you will not be the best runner in the room on a given day. There will be dedicated runners who are faster than you. There will be dedicated power lifters who are stronger than you. And that is perfectly okay because your goal is not to beat the specialists. It is to be the most comprehensively capable athlete in the room. Developing this mindset, what I call the hybrid confidence mindset, is one of the most liberating shifts you can make in your athletic identity. The hybrid athlete's greatest mental challenge is resisting the temptation of comparison. You are not training to be the best at one thing. You are training to be extraordinary at everything. That is a different and far more ambitious goal. Consistency is the most underrated athletic skill. The athlete who shows up for their workout at 70% energy and does the work beats the athlete who waits for perfect conditions every single time. Over the long arc of a season, that consistency compounds into extraordinary results. Visualization is not just for elite athletes. Spending 5 minutes before a session mentally walking through the workout, seeing yourself moving powerfully, lifting confidently, running smoothly, measurably improves performance in study after study. Use this tool every single training day. Build daily mental habits alongside your physical ones. A 5-minute visualization practice before training, a gratitude reflection after training, a weekly review of your progress and goals. These practices build the mental architecture that allows physical training to compound into lasting transformation rather than fleeting fitness. Your journey starts now. Final words from Brad Young. We've covered an extraordinary amount of ground today in episode 102 of the Peak Performance Podcast, and I want to close by bringing it all together in a way that sends you forward with absolute clarity and excitement about what is possible for you. The hybrid athlete model is not just a training philosophy, it is a life philosophy. It is the belief that you refuse to accept arbitrary limits on what your body can do, that you are willing to do the work across multiple domains, and that you are playing a long game. One that will reward you with health, capability, and athletic vitality for decades to come. Here's what I want you to take from today. First, understand your body type and honor it in your programming. Not as an excuse, but as a starting point. Ectomorphs. Focus on building your foundation of strength while maintaining your natural aerobic gifts. Mesomorphs. Respect your recovery and use your natural athleticism with intelligent programming. Endomorphs. Trust the process of consistent hybrid training to unlock the powerful, capable body that is already inside you. Second, eat to support your training. Nutrition is not separate from your athletic performance. It is the fuel that makes your training possible and the building material that turns your workouts into adaptations. Learn your body, learn your macronutrients, and commit to consistency over perfection in the kitchen the same way you do in the gym. Third, take injury prevention as seriously as your training itself. Warm up every single day. Prioritize sleep like it is part of your program because it is. Do your mobility work even when you feel fine because the moment you feel like you need, it is too late. Progress your training volume gradually and intentionally. These habits are the difference between the athlete who trains hard for a few months and burns out and the athlete who trains consistently for years and keeps getting better. Your action steps this week: identify your dominant body type, choose the corresponding program from this episode, audit your current nutrition and begin adjusting your macronutrient ratios. Add 10 minutes of mobility work to every training session this week. Schedule your deload week 4 weeks from now. And most importantly, start. Start today. Start imperfectly. Just start.